Hey everyone, it's good to be with you on Read Through the Word. It is March the 20, goodness gracious, what is it? It is March the 22nd. So sorry about that. March the 22nd. You know, we really, I don't know too many people that want to be known, identified as something bad or something bad that they did in their life. For instance, our person today, our friend Rahab, who really was basically the first Gentile convert. It's Rahab, the prostitute, right? Judas, the betrayer. You see what I'm saying here? Most of us don't really want to be known. We want the portion after the comma to be something favorable, is what I'm trying to say here. But I think in Rahab's case, that part that comes after the comma, like former prostitute, I think it gives her credibility in her commitment to a God that she has not seen, that she has only heard about. I mean, isn't this amazing? She is really the first Gentile convert. She has been saved by faith in a God that she does not know. How cool is that? So I love to hear that story of redemption from someone who, by the world's standards, is completely unsavable, completely unredeemable. But yet, God found them worthy of salvation and redemption. You know, these stories of what such and such did for the kingdom of God and what so and so did for the kingdom of God, and we hear of big names, just like Samaritan's Purse, for example. What Franklin Graham has done for children all over the world. And then we have an organization closer to home called Samaritan's Feet, and what they have done for shoeless people all over the world, right? What about that one little person? That one little person that can make a difference. Oh, well, yeah, they can't make a difference because they are so-and-so, so-and-so. Well, what I love about the Bible and about the way that God has told his story is he includes people that, yeah, that makes sense that they would be used by God. And then he tells the story of, that makes no sense of how they would be used by God, but they were. God will use, can use, and will use anyone he chooses. And you may be thinking, I don't have anything to give. I am in the middle of living out a sinful life, or I know I've been redeemed from my past, but I really can't see how God could use that in his kingdom. I know I'm going to heaven, but for right now, I'm just going to bide my time. I put a list here of just some ordinary people. I think I did. I hope I included this in your notes. If I didn't, I'm sorry. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I've already posted notes, and I don't think I did. But we had Balaam's donkey. We had Mary, an innocent virgin girl. Paul, who was Saul, who was a murderer of God's people. We have the Samaritan woman, who we don't even know her name, was married to five men, and living with one who wasn't her husband. What a reputation. But she was an evangelist. Many in her town were saved because of her. And then you have David, a shepherd boy, the youngest of a huge family of men, fighting men, loyal men to God's army, was chosen to be king of all of Israel. You have Esther, a young Jewish woman who didn't want to be appointed queen, but she was for such a time as this, was to save her people. Who would have ever thought that Gideon, a man who hid in fear, would end up being a leader? And then, of course, Moses, oh my goodness, he was a murderer. He was a murderer. Oh, and by the way, David ended up being an adulterer and a murderer as well. Well, then you have many of the disciples. Matthew, for one, was a tax collector. Matthew, tax collector. Really? They were hated and reviled. And then you have King Cyrus, who God himself said in Isaiah that the book of Isaiah, that he was going to make him the deliverer of his people. Even though King Cyrus did not acknowledge Yahweh. What? God would use someone who did not acknowledge him? Absolutely. Absolutely. God will accomplish his purposes. And he will use any means and anyone he chooses. And I included some verses there, and I'm quite certain I have included them in another lesson, but I'm not even going to attempt to try to tell you where those were. But God's plans stand firm. God's plans are not going to be thwarted. God's plan are purposed. And they're not going to be annulled. They're not going to be. And he will use whoever he wants to use. Those who are willing and unwilling. Those who acknowledge him and those who don't. Those who have talents or who think they don't have any talents. And those who are surrendered and those who are on the run. That's who God uses. So here's the thing. If God's plans are going to stand firm, they're not going to be thwarted. And he is going to use the willing and the unwilling, the surrendered and the unsurrendered, the talented and the untalented, if that's what we want to identify as, those who acknowledge him and those who don't. Then why don't we want to just participate with him? Right? Rahab knew what was going to happen. She had heard. She said she trembled. They trembled in fear. I think I'm on the wrong page. I am so sorry. I'm on the total wrong page. They trembled in fear. Her people, she trembled in fear because they had heard all about God's power and his authority. Heard all about it. She was acknowledging who God was, acknowledging her fear of God, and willing to be part of the salvation of his people. And look what she got to see. Her house is in the wall around the city. And what happens? She is spared, and her family. Can you imagine what they were thinking when they looked and all the walls fell down except for that around Rahab and her family? I can't even imagine. So here's the thing for us today. Let's be willing participants in his story. Let's acknowledge he's God and let's surrender to his work. Even if we don't understand it, and might I say even if we don't like it. Because he's going to call us to situations where we might not find very favorable. But if we see his hands, we can trace his hands. Let's surrender to the plan. Because here's the thing. We get a front row seat to the miracle. We experience firsthand his protection. And we are partakers of his provision. We get to witness it all. We get to be a part of it all. So why don't we just surrender to him? Why don't we just give up our ways? Why don't we just press delete by that comma? Or better yet, just say, Wendy, surrendered soul that was saved. whatever you want your comma, your text to be after your comma. But let's live to where we're front row witnesses to what's going on. He's working. He's all around us. And I, for one, am sorrowful that I white knuckle everything and I miss being part of the story, and someone else gets to see it and I don't. The person that God can use, anybody. So let's just be willing to be used and to participate and to see His glory and to see His miracles and experience His provision and His protection and His presence. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.